everyone, and welcome back to Anne's Family Recipe. Today I am baking chocolate Oreo donuts. So a little bit before Christmas time, my friend Dave reached out to me and said that his girlfriend Catherine is a huge fan of watching my channel, which, as an aside, I am so appreciative for anybody who takes the time to watch my videos and try out my recipes. Thank you so much. So Dave had this idea that he was gonna surprise Catherine with a cooking class from me. I wasn't exactly sure what he wanted me to make, so we were bouncing around some ideas, and he said that Catherine loves chocolate donuts and Oreo cookies, and I was like, perfect, let's make some baked donuts. So he went out and bought a donut pan, and I gave him a grocery list so that he would have everything on hand. And then one afternoon I used FaceTime to surprise call Catherine, and she was totally surprised. It was awesome, and we got to chat, and I got to catch up with my old friend Dave, which was so nice, and they cooked together along with me in our respective kitchens. So I'm going to share that recipe with you today because it turned out so well. I spent a lot of time recipe testing. I tried like 5 different chocolate donut recipes that I found online. They're all baked. So just as a heads up, baked donuts are definitely a little bit different than what you're gonna find at a donut shop or the grocery store. They definitely have more of a cake, cupcake-like texture, but these are super moist. They have buttermilk, they have a nice chocolate kind of ganache glaze on top, and then as a finishing touch, you crumble up some Oreos and sprinkle them on top. You're gonna love it. Grab your donut pans, let's go. The first ingredient I'm preparing is my buttermilk. That's not something I typically have on hand, so I made my own. You just need 1 tablespoon of distilled white vinegar, and then you top it off with milk, whatever kind you have, up to the 1 cup line. You want to stir that up and sit it aside for a few minutes until it starts to curdle up just a little bit. Next, I took my donut pans, which I will link for you in my description box below. You can find them on Amazon, and I sprayed them with some nonstick baking spray. In a large mixing bowl, I added 1 cup of flour and 1/4 cup of cocoa powder, and I love baking with Hershey's Special Dark Cocoa Powder. It just makes everything extra rich. I also added in 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/8 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 cup of sugar, and then 1/2 teaspoon of coffee granules. I used instant decaf coffee here. You could also use espresso powder, and the coffee was a special touch I added. I think it pairs so well with anything chocolate flavored. It just brings out that dark chocolate richness. And then you whisk that together. Next, I melted 2 tablespoons of butter, and then I added in my homemade buttermilk into the dry mixture, along with the butter, 1 egg, and 1/2 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. I whisked this all together, and that's the batter. So like I said, I tested many recipes before this, and I kind of picked and chose my favorite elements from each one and created my own. So this batter is pretty thin. If you had a thicker one, you could put it into a Ziploc bag, cut off the tip, and pipe it into your donut pans. But I found that spooning it in wasn't that messy because if you have greased your pan well enough, you can just wipe any excess off the center spot or the edges, and it works out just fine. So these dark chocolate donuts bake at 350 degrees for about 10 minutes. You can always start checking them a little bit earlier, but in my oven and my friend Dave's oven, it took a good 10 minutes. They're going to spring back a little bit when you press on them, and that's how you know that they're finished. Once you've removed them from the oven to cool slightly, you can make the chocolate glaze. So this is 2 tablespoons of butter, 1/2 cup of chocolate chips. I used semi-sweet because then the donuts aren't overly sweet, but you could use milk chocolate too. And then 3 tablespoons of 50/50 or heavy cream. And then you can microwave this in 30-second increments, stirring in between until it is melted and smooth. Next, I took a few Oreo cookies, put them into a Ziploc bag, and mashed them up into bits with my meat mallet. I only used 3 because some of my kids only wanted the chocolate frosting and not the cookies on their donuts, but you'll probably need a few more than that. Once my donuts had cooled slightly, I inverted the pan over a cooling rack, and I was very thankful that they came out pretty easily. So at this point, I had my glaze that almost has a pudding-like consistency to it. It's so tasty. And then I took each donut and dipped it in so the entire top was coated in that thick chocolate glaze. The final step is to sprinkle those Oreo cookie crumbles all over the tops. These donuts taste amazing, they're incredibly easy to make, and they look super fancy, so I hope you give them a try. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram at Anne's Family Recipe, and give this video a thumbs up if you liked my baked chocolate donut recipe today. Thank you so much for joining me here in my kitchen, and I'll see you again soon with more family recipes.